Hello viewers, today we will be cleaning and servicing this Holmes window fan. This is model number HWF0910AT, and just before we start the video, I will point out that this process is not for the faint or the impatient, because these are not meant to come apart. Holmes does not want you to take them apart, and they will not come apart without a good fight. However, it can be done, and I will show you how. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take this off the cord just for convenience purposes, and we're going to start on the back, and we have a multitude of screws to undo. Interestingly enough, these are all standard size screws and will come out with a regular household screwdriver. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to get all the screws out of there. Let's see here. Yep, that's all of them. So I'll set these aside. And now this is where the fun begins. Now Holmes says, oh, just lift it up like this and clean it up. No, I'm not doing that. What's holding it on is these stinking clips. And I've done a few videos on these kind of fans before, and I get a lot of questions about these clips. And I don't really have a really good way of doing it. I usually can finagle them off without breaking them, but the way they're designed makes it very difficult, because you have to pull right in here forwards to get that part over the lip, and then there's another lip inside which has to be pushed inward in order to get over the lip inside. So what I usually do is I take two screwdrivers, and again, this is not foolproof, but if you look, open the panel and you look inside here, you can see part of the clip. And you can see that little lip that I was talking about before, the one on the bottom that keeps it from pulling out. So that part has to go down, and then what we can see up here has to come up. So it's an interesting task, to say the least. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this screwdriver, it's a little bit longer, I'm going to try to get it under there like this, and I'm going to take this screwdriver, and it may break. It's just a risk that you run with this stupid thing. And I'm going to try to pull it up like this, and it's not going to come easily because you're forcing a piece of plastic in two different directions. Maybe a bigger screwdriver is a benefit here. I'm going to try to be as gentle as I can as to not break anything. I know it sounds like it's breaking, but it's not. And this may take a few minutes to finagle this just the right way. And now this clip is starting to crack a little bit. It's very sun yellowed, and plastic is starting to deteriorate, so we have to be extra careful. And it just broke. So at this point, all bets are off, and we'll just do that. So now we're down to one clip. Hopefully this one doesn't break. I have suspicions it's going to. Okay, so that one came out alright. So what I just did there is the best way to get it off, and even that's not really a good way, but that's the most success I've ever had. Usually once you get one part of it out, the other part comes relatively easily. So this clip is still intact, so at least we got one working clip. And now this comes off. If you can get to this part, you'll be okay, because that's the most annoying part. The rest of it's pretty simple from here on out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open this control panel, and because these are electronic controls, which I don't particularly like, we have to be careful that they don't get wet and then plugged in, because that will probably damage something. These screws are also the same size as the other ones, so it's also not necessary to keep those straight. That's the control panel cover. We'll take that out. There's one screw holding this in. I will undo that. And this screw is a different size, so we'll separate that from the rest of the pile. Oh, there's actually two screws in here. I didn't even see that. Two screws holding in this control panel. And this should pull right out, and the thermostat is sitting there. That'll come out too. And so we have this control panel with the lights, the button, and we got one screw in the middle of this thing to keep this on. And so, okay, here's another part that's kind of flaky. These switches are not meant to come out. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to take them out, and we have to glue them back in, unfortunately. Now this part is optional. You can clean it just as it is, like this. I don't want to do that. I want to put it in the bathtub and soak the whole thing, so I'm going to pull all of the electronics out. So what we have to do here for this, these little plastic pieces here are flattened out with heat, and that's what holds it in place, which is kind of pathetic. So I'm going to take a precision knife here, and I'm going to cut away at this. Now you don't want to just cut, you know, horizontally and break the post, because you need the post to glue to again. Oh, my knife just broke. Heaven's sakes. So just cut it off like that, leaving the post in place, so that we can glue it back on later. And then once I do both sides, it's going to take a minute here to do this, but once I got both sides cut, this will just pull off there like that. So I'll go ahead and do this with the other one as well. And this is ridiculous. Dumb design. Just goes to show that these fans, although relatively expensive, are designed to not be kept around for very long. Okay, so So that should come out. And now the blades. Okay, the switches came off, that's normal. The blades come off fairly easily. They're going to come off with, so we have a nut driver that's going to fit that. No, we don't. I have to use a wrench. Don't think I have the right size. It's not that size, and it's going to be too small. So I'll have to use an adjustable wrench here. These usually come off pretty easily, and it should just lift right up and come off. So we'll wash that blade, put that bolt aside. Again for this one. You can see these fans come with pretty nice motors, and if you keep the motors cleaned and oiled, these fans will last a very long time. Just a function of dealing with the pain in the rear that you have to go through in order to keep it that way. And we got the 4 screws holding the motors in. Alright, so now everything should be loose. Yep, these are all free to come out, and so now, let's see, there's one more thing I want to do, I think. Yeah, I want to remove the string relief here. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to open this up, and that can be done with a common screwdriver. Actually, let's see here. What's going to be the easiest way to do this? I'm actually going to start from this side, I think, and try to pull this little piece back this way. And it's not really wanting to come, but we're going to make it. There we go. It's going to take some convincing, but it will come through. Now this part is also optional as well, but since I want to clean it with the wet method, I need this to come out. And come out it will, with enough time and effort here. Oh, this is really being a pain. There we go. So now, with that off, I'm going to open this thing up, pull that off for now. And the reason I wanted to do that is so that I can pull the wire through here. And since this is a molded plug, well, actually it's not totally waterproof because of the fuse, but I'll just put the plug in a bag, and then this whole thing can get wet now, and I can keep the motors at a safe distance. All the plastic components have been cleaned, so now we're going to take a look at the motors. And there's not a whole lot to do with these because they're working just fine. So I think what we're going to do is we may just brush the dust off, put a couple drops of oil in, and get on with life. They feel a little stiff, but not anything too outrageous. I think, let's put some oil in there and see what happens. I'm hoping perhaps we can just oil this and then that'll be it. Don't have to go in there and clean anything. Yeah, I think that'll be sufficient. Let's power it on for a minute here, and this will be interesting because I can't really touch the board while it's plugged up. At least I don't think so, because it does have mains going into there. That's another reason why I don't like these stupid electronic controls. You know what? Forget it. I'm not going to power it up just yet. Yeah, that's making an improvement. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to oil it, and that should suffice. And of course, this is the fan oil, specifically for fans. Alright. So now, we're going to begin the fun of putting everything back into the housing. And I'm going to plug up my low temperature glue gun here and get that going. The thermostat probe I just kind of put so that it's like along the side of here. I can't really tell where it came out of from the video, but I think that's about where it's supposed to be. Before we go any further, I want to just power it up here and make sure everything is working. The motors are running. Let's make sure all the stupid LEDs are on. Yeah, okay. Everything seems to be working. So now we're approaching the part where we have to start gluing. Actually, I don't even know which switch is for which fan. Let's see here. I think this is operating the one on the right. Maybe it's not. Nope, it's definitely not. I think these switches are reversed. They are. Okay, that's interesting. So somehow I'm gonna have to get this to be like this instead. I really am having a hard time fathoming how that's supposed to be the case. I guess it just goes like that. That's not as bad as it seemed like it was going to be. Okay. Let's make sure I got it right this time. So, let's see here. Turn it on. So the right is going to be intake. It's doing that motor. That's working right. So, if the switch is like this, they should both be rotating clockwise, which they were. Alright, so this is how the switches are going to go. I'm not exactly sure what purpose these pieces of paper serve, but I don't even remember what these were. This goes over that. We're going to leave those out. Oh, you know what else I left out? Disc. This thing, which went in front of the control board. I can't fathom why that would matter, but I'll put it back in. It's only a few screws. This is where we're going to have to deal with the gluing. So, because the plastic is doesn't have that thing on the top of it anymore, I'm going to take some hot glue and kind of replace that plastic thing with glue. Now I'm using this glue because it's gonna hold it in place, but it's also going to be relatively easy to remove when it becomes time to service this again. I've let the glue dry for a few minutes. Now I'm going to put the switches back on. Now, during normal operation, these switches don't experience any force against the glue. It's just horizontal movement, so it should never come out. But I am going to hold the back of the switch while I push this on. And it may get a little bit stuck the first time you go to switch it because the glue you can see what had happened on this one. The glue went right up against the switch, that part that moves. So it just took a little bit of extra force to get it to go, but it's working now and it won't lock up again. So that's that. Got to put the strain relief back on the cord. It's probably the most thrilling part, next to dealing with those stinking clips. It's much easier to get back in than it is to take it out, that's for certain. Not that either is terribly easy, but that wasn't bad at all. So that's in place now. I don't like how tight that is. Little grooves here for the cord to slip into. So I think that's what it's for. Alright, and then all that's left is this. Alright, I'm going to do one final test on the electrical before we proceed. High, low. Alright, it's all working. Blades. Those two grooves have to line up with that thing on the shaft. And these are actually really nice because they got holes in the blades that indicate where that is, and you can actually see that thing through the holes. So they made that quite easy to put back on. And this I'm only going to put on hand tight. There's no reason to put it on anything more than that. It's just a plastic blade. Okay. Spin down time seems pretty good. I'm certainly content with that. So let's go ahead and turn it on and make sure it's working still. I suspect it would be, but You never know. These motors have quite a hum to them. I don't know if that's because of the electronic controls. Probably is. I don't recall the other one. Of course, I haven't used it in several weeks, but I don't recall the other one, the mechanical one, having a hum like that. And I used it in the bedroom, so I would have noticed if there was a hum. This is all cleaned up. This first part here where it's got the opening there lines up with these tabs. It sits right on there. And it just sits like that. And then this, well, that's certainly in the way. Okay, I'll put the screws back in, and then we have to play with those stinking clips again. And the clip missing is not going to be an issue in my application because these fans are so wide, at least the windows in this house, it only has to go out to about there to make a good fit. So the fact that the one is broken is not really going to be an issue. I'm going to put it back on just for aesthetics. It's not really going to do anything. Finagle this one on. They tend to go on a little bit easier than they come off, but not by much. I kind of put the back in just a little bit, and then I want to get the front in as well. This may break as I go to put it back in, but hopefully not. Alright, I think did that successfully go in? It did. Alright. And actually, even though this is broken, whoops, it's still going to work. So, if it breaks like this, it's not detrimental. You know, it's still, for the most part, works just fine. So now we can go ahead and do the final checkout here. And just for accuracy comparison purposes, my thermometer is reading 70 degrees in this room. This is high, low. Yeah, that motor hum is quite noticeable. That's not turned off until 80 degrees. It's not warm out today, nor is it warm in here, so that's a little bit disappointing in terms of accuracy. Let's do exhaust. Doesn't seem to move as much air. I think just by design, it's with the way the shrouds are and everything, it's just not going to work as well on reverse. Presses 100 times just to get it to turn off. What a dumb design of the controls. Spin down is pretty good. I think the motors definitely did not need any deeper servicing than that. So, that's that. Servicing and cleaning the Holmes window fan, whatever the model number was. I will do a video. Oh man. I should have put this on the other way. There's the side that's yellowed. Should be on the outside. Oh well, I'm not taking it off again. That's way too much hassle. Whoops. I'm going to close this video. Let's turn it into a freak show. We'll do another video of this fan in comparison to the mechanical control version 1 at a later time.